Okay, I have one more too, and I was gonna shelf this take for a minute. Are you getting like, I don't know, like dynastic Spursian vibes from the Denver Nuggets at all when you
Oh,
watch them? So here's my thing. I'm like, I don't even want to unbottle this because I feel like I'm going to end
let
up
it out.
I like is this might be too Jokic centric, and I don't mean to insult Jamal Murray, who's one of just I guess the most proven playoff performers in the game at this point. But look at where the Nuggets kind of are, and like you kind of look at teams that have reached this level where we think that they have a chance of repeating. Has there ever been like a larger gap between the best player and then sort of the second best player? And I'm
Hmm.
using like maybe the Spurs were a bad example because even they were all more of a collective at that point where it wasn't Tim Duncan wasn't, the post 2010 Spurs, like Tim Duncan wasn't the fifth best player in the NBA or whatever it is. But you look at the Nuggets and how they play collectively, and it gives me sort of just like the Spursian vibes. But they also have this megastar that maybe the Spurs didn't have. And so I'm just looking at them and I'm like, if they keep this together, what is it that derails them? Because Murray will he's not going to get any worse. And like I said, I'm not trying to denigrate his value, but look what he just did to Anthony Davis, who's the worst defender in the league because he couldn't stop that Murray
Right.
shot.
Couldn't get it.
So I don't know. I don't mean to say the Nuggets are going to be a dynasty, but it's not just about going back to back. It's just I watch them. You see the chemistry, the synergy, the connectivity, the way that they can flip a switch, try these different things. And now you have like, oh, well, the Christian Brown and Peyton Watson element being in the pipeline is like going to be really beneficial. Dude, you just get like are we watching something not like sustainably transcendent here that we're not ready yet to admit because it's only one championship old?
I think I wrote after they won it last year, my take was like, this is not going away. For all the reasons you said, like the superstar they have is like, I don't know. It's easy to say this now, and maybe this will be proved wrong, but he's like, who seems more aging proof than Jokic? You know, like the counter is like, well, if you don't have a step to lose and you do lose that step, it means a ton because, he's just not athletically dominant. But like, he's always going to be big. He's always going to have the same vision. He's always going to have like his command over like the proceedings on the court is only going to improve as he just gets more reps, right? Like we think like maybe this is the peak of like mental basketball processing. It's like, well, what's he going to look like 3 years from now when he's just had more? I mean, so and like the way that the league, the collective bargaining agreement works, like the Nuggets can just keep all these guys. It's not a situation where if you need to overpay to keep KCP or Aaron Gordon or whatever, like you're gonna have bird rights on all these guys. You can, if they're willing to go over the cap, like there's no reason this team should change fundamentally, at least among its top guys. So like, yeah, and the thing is like the Spurs with Duncan were like 3 or 4 different teams over the length of that run, and Duncan was the constant. But like and so looking at that as an example, why can't Jokic be the constant? And what style of play would not work with Jokic at the center of it? Like anything is going to work if he's there. He'll find the way. He'll find a way. So you can build if for whatever reason some of these core support pieces change. Like I don't know, none of them have been all stars, so it's by definition it's not going to be that hard to replace some of them. And if you play differently, then I trust Jokic to figure it out. So as long as injury doesn't come in or like cheapness from ownership, like why wouldn't the Denver thing just go on for a long time, right?
Yeah, and it was weird because the Spurs weren't a perfect analog. Maybe because I was focusing too much on the back end of that sort of
Mm-hmm.
run. But like it's almost feel like they're a blend of like the Kevin, like the dynastic Warriors and then like the Spurs at once because you have the megastar at this point. And I know Tim Duncan might have been that at one point, but I'm just like if they win back-to-back titles, the comparison feels like it'll hold up even more. And like I wanted to wait until at least but I'm just like watching this team and I'm like, who is stopping this over the next half decade? And we know how team building works. Ownership isn't going to want to pay as some of these guys come up on their new deals. But you mentioned it with Jokic, still in his prime, able to optimize everybody. And they have that Spursian thing to where, the Warriors tried the 2 timeline thing. It ended up sabotaging not sabotaging, but it wasn't able to they didn't sabotage the initial timeline, but they didn't prop it up either because they were focused on the second timeline to where they could have done things to augment the first one. And like the Nuggets aren't in that position yet because the age of everyone in there. So you can juggle the two timelines without, and I mean, this is boiling down to two players, unless you think like Julian Strother or Jalen Pickett is going to like be a huge part of the team too. I'm reticent to say anything is sustainable in this league right now, but I'm just looking at the Nuggets and trying to find the reason that this thing would bust up, break up, devolve, regress in the next like 3 to 5 years, which is a lifetime in NBA years. And I can't find it.
I mean, there's a reason we watched the Celtics win 64 games and have, relative to the rest of the league, one of the best net ratings we've ever seen, and still said, well, yeah, but the Nuggets. It's like there's just something, not every team that wins a title makes you feel this way. Like some of those Warriors teams were like, well, this is the real deal, and like the Nuggets win last year. People can talk about who they did and didn't beat, but like, it just feels like a different type of championship. It's not a one-off situation to me.
They don't have that. They have not that same feeling of inevitability as the Warriors, but there does seem to be an inevitability to them that those Spurs teams never felt like they had.
Yeah.
And so like, that's why I was struggled to making that, but it's just, I think as like, in terms of the collective and then like juggling multiple different agendas when it comes to your timeline at once, I'm just, maybe I'm not just, what did I say last time? I'm not, you weren't sipping the Kool-Aid. You were dry scooping. You were mixing, you weren't even mixing it. Maybe I'm dry scooping the Nuggets Kool-Aid, and I've dry scooped pre-workout before. It is not, I don't know why people do it. It's not pleasant. I don't understand it at all.
I'm dry scooping too, and it's delicious. Like there's just I just can't get past, you don't even have to think that much beyond like, that starting five is perfect. Like everything about it is perfect. All the pieces fit. Everybody knows what to do. Everybody's good at the things they're asked to do. And it's just like, no other team is that way. Even the Celtics aren't quite that way. They don't
feel that way because we have evidence that they're not like that.
Oh, Bert, unhappy with the Nuggets take. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah. Wow. Is he a Celtics fan?
I don't know. I think he had a bad dog dream.
That was that Bert's first appearance on the live podcast?
Yep, he's right here. He was sleeping under the desk and he made his presence felt.
Shout out to Bert, who has just one of the best barks in the world.
He's very rattled right now.
Yeah, I didn't realize he was a Celtics fan.
I guess, yeah. We'll have to change that. Please remember, as always, rate, review, subscribe. Tell your friends about this podcast. Show them clips on YouTube. Play them me failing to pick up the fall into the gap that Dan laid out for me, and say like they're still trying to get better, so there's upside for this podcast. If you are interested in our merch or joining our Discord, links for that are in the YouTube and podcast description. That's going to do it. We will have something else coming this week, I think, or maybe early next week. I don't want to make any promises, but as always, shouts, Frank Ntilikina, apologies, Jared Allen.